Anthony Volpe's underlying stats scream he should be much better, but his plate discipline seems to be killing him. Should we drop him? You'll find out that more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Wane. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop an awesome episode. Plus, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're getting that audio podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star rating, and give us a review if possible. It really helps out the show. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, I got a great episode for you. All right, let me lay out how we're going to hit this today. I got pitchers, I got hitters that we need to talk about, that whether we're going to need to keep them on our team or are they just dead weight. All right. So, like I mentioned at the top, I got Anthony Volpe. All right. A lot of underlying stats completely say, oh, there should be some positive regression, but it doesn't seem that way. I got a closer that, are we even sure that he's even going to be back this season? And then I got a pitcher we're going to lead off with, Jack Flaherty, who truly has just been putrid. And let's dive into it. So Jack Flaherty, the Detroit Tigers starting pitcher, 78% owned, and quite honestly, dropping like it's hot. Look, he has had over the last month a 6.15 ERA through 26 innings pitched, 24 strikeouts, a win, a 141 whip, and only managed to get one quality start. Right there off the bat, that is fugly. Not just ugly, it is fugly. Then we start looking into a little bit more, right? Let's break down Jack Flaherty as a whole. He's given up hard contact, which is actually pretty here we go. He's given up hard contact 41.9% of the time. It is suppressing the barrel, but still the Sierra is sitting at 497, which is not good. He's right under where you're starting to get really scared of whether or not he's actually going to be able to perform. His ERA is, like I said, at a 4.5 over the last 2 weeks. And his FIP over that time is a 4.74, and his xFIP is a 4.51. So literally right on point where he's going. Yes, he's producing ground balls, but his home run, the fly ball rate is at 14.3%, which is honestly really not good, which means he's giving up home runs at a significant rate, which screams everything that is we're seeing on the field, the ERA, the FIP, all that is just here to stay. Then you look at just like, okay, how often are we walking guys? Well, his walk to the 9 is 3.6. That's not great. It means he's walking guys like crazy, which means his ERA is going to get even more blown up than we're already seeing on the field. So there's probably even more negative regression, I think, coming that I think we're just not going to want a piece of. Maybe his last start where he went 4.1 innings against the White Sox of all teams is just a continuing trend that he just cannot work his way out. It looks like he can't pitch himself out of a paper bag. And I don't get it. Jack Flaherty started off the season super hot and honestly was a guy that was making me almost want to eat my words and put my foot in my mouth because I really was just not a fan. But these are the struggles that you kind of like suspect can happen because I don't think he's as good as we always thought he was going to be. A guy that started off his career fantastic and just has always dealt with stuff. Just don't like him anymore. And I think for this end of the season, we got to make playoff pushes here. We got to make sure we win at the end of this week so we can go to the championship. It's only one way to do that, not start Jack Flaherty. And quite honestly, not even have him on your team. Look, his next matchup, too, is against the New York Yankees on the 10th, right, which is tomorrow. Look, I'm not starting him. I wouldn't even touch him in with a 10-foot pole, let alone a 20-foot pole. I don't even know if I'd walk on the same side of the sidewalk as this dude when it comes to fantasy baseball. Jack Flaherty, 100%, is a drop. Do not even worry about will he get picked up. If he does, pray he does. And play it's the guy you're playing because he's going to get lit up against the Yankees. And it's going to be a great landmine for somebody else. So drop Jack Flaherty like it's hot because it's not even worth having him. Let's move on. Let's start about Daniel Palencia. Okay, he's a closer for the Chicago Cubs. And unfortunately, he just hit the IL today. A little bit before I had to record, I got the alert. And, dealing with a shoulder strain, I truthfully don't even think he's going to be back for the season. Like, everything is saying there's no timetable at this moment. It just everything is screaming for me at least, hey, you're not going to be back anytime soon. And that just makes me feel really, really rough about him in general. So he's definitely a drop. Like he's definitely not worth holding on to since I suspect he won't be back. But I will try and provide you at least with some guys that could possibly be taking over the role now that he has obviously been jettisoned to the IL. So let's look at it real quick. So behind him, you now have Brad Keller, you have Andrew Kittredge, and Caleb Thielbar. Okay, all those names sound absolutely ugly for me, but I mean, you got to get a guy that's on a team that I think is, going to win games and going to put them in a position where they're going to be able to collect some saves, and that's the key part here. And I will probably add Keller. I know nothing about him, but quite honestly, if I, based off of the sources that I like to invest my time in and that I trust, RotoWire is one of the better sources that I use to kind of, gauge my focus on what closer is up next. Brad Keller seems to be the next man up, and you know what? I'm just going to add him and pray that he just doesn't annihilate my ERA, and just kind of roll from there. And let's see if I can just pull up a little bit of him so we can kind of at least see where we're going with this, right? So Brad Keller, as of right now on the season, honestly, is posting a 2.17 ERA over 62 innings with 65 strikeouts. If he's stepping into the role and he's also only 19% owned, he might be worth adding if you can catch a couple saves from him. It actually is a decent add in my opinion. Just based off of that, he fits all the molds of what I like for a closer, a guy that is over a K per inning, a guy that is able to keep the ERA low, all that wonderful stuff that you really look for in an elite closer. Somebody that's able to contribute just more than the saves category, but also a guy that might be able to close it out. Now, obviously, that doesn't speak volumes of can he get the job done and actually get the save and close out the game. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's been in that position much this season. So, it's still a risk. It's a lot of pressure to be in the ninth, but I mean, with that track record right now, he's your best option in my opinion, and probably only one of the few closers out there that you're going to be able to add. So I go out there and add him. So that's Brad Keller, drop Palencia without a doubt. Let's move on. So about Peyton Toll. He's playing for them Boston Red Sox. And quite honestly, he got lit up in his last start, his second start in the season against Arizona. And Arizona, as we know, traded away their whole team. And now we're in a spot where he's had one good start, one bad start. And his next start comes up against the Athletics with, obviously Nick Kurtz that is crushing the ball like crazy in a park, especially at home for the Vegas Athletics in a AAA park. I don't know if I'm starting him. Quite honestly, I'm probably dropping him, and I'm not even going to start him unless my ERA is absolutely destroyed. But the problem is he's pitching on Wednesday, and it's in the middle of the week, and I hope that your ERA isn't destroyed. So he's probably a pass for me and probably a bench. I'd rather have him have a good game on the waiver wire than can get blown up on my team, where it then destroys my counting stats even more. And then I have to play this other game of just streaming pitchers to get strikeouts and hopefully some quality starts and wins if those are the categories you're playing with, let alone even if you're just, in a daily league that isn't points. It's hard to say, like, okay, cool. Let me roll out a guy that's kind of unproven, kind of been coming out of nowhere. And you look at just like even his advanced stats on Toll, and just things aren't looking great. You look at him and you just go, all right, well, his walk per nine is a 6.48, which means he's walking guys like crazy. He's only producing ground balls. I mean, again, 2 starts, 22% of the time. Home run, the fly ball rate is 20%, which means he's giving up home runs like crazy. And his FIP and his XFIP are still ugly. I mean, his FIP is a 602, but his XFIP is a 474. Not good. And even his Sierra is a 488. And you know what? These are all things where I just have to take a back step and I have to see more from him and I have to learn to trust him. But right now we're in the playoffs and I'm not risking it on a rookie. So Peyton Toll is a flat out drop for me. 100%. So don't even blink, don't even question it. Drop them or just bypass them on the waivers. Don't even look at them. All right. But coming up next, I got guys that we really need to discuss what to do with Kyle Finnegan. Is Kikuchi even a good stream this week? That and more coming up next. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, chance to see your team in a position. I mean, in person. But actually, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part, right? Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it all takes the fun out of it, which is the truth. You think you're gonna get a good price, and then $55 in per ticket for fees. That's not fun. That's why I use Game Time. The Game Time app gives you an advantage, gives you the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, backed by Game Time's guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time for the best price. Plus, all fees are included up front, so you see your price when you that you're going to pay right there in the screen. The app is made to be super simple. I can even see the view exact from my seats before I even buy, making sure I'm not sitting behind that pole. Know your total up front with no surprise fees to check out. And the zone deals are pretty cool too. You just pick a section, and Game Time picks a seat for you, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, use the code Locked On LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. And quite honestly, I've been using them way longer than I've been with Locked On, and they've been a sponsor of this podcast. And they are an incredible, incredible application. Use them all the time. I promise you won't regret it. Hey, look, you want a little bit more than what we offer on this 30-minute podcast? Make sure to check us out on that insider track. Look, these September call-ups are actually around the corner. It's actually interesting. There hasn't been many, which means that at any moment we're going to probably get a whole bunch. And these are the guys that could possibly get the call and make a difference that will thrust you over the finish line to get to your championship. So get in on there for that. Plus, you'll be able to ask us start-sit questions. You'll be able to, get, what do you call waiver wire priorities and things like that, and rankings for each show. It's really worth it. Check us out. Links in the description below. But let's get back in the show. All right. So, Kikuchi, Yusei Kikuchi. I say a droppy because I haven't really liked Kikuchi in a while, and I didn't mean to do, too much of a wordplay, but sometimes these things happen. But Kikuchi, it has been really bad. Over the last month, an 8.78 ERA, a 1.84 whip, 24 strikeouts to 27 innings, only one win and one quality start. Even his last outing, 31.5 ERA against the Athletics. Same thing that goes against Toll. Not trying to deal with that. Then you look at it against Houston, rocked them. Rangers rocked him. Since he handled himself pretty nicely. With Athletics again, Detroit. Like, he's just not looking good. Kikuchi is not somebody I really want on my team. And Seattle, honestly, that lineup kind of scares me. They're a good team. They have a lot of big bats on that team. Suarez, Rodriguez. Naylor. Like, they're doing their thing. And, you can't forget about, like, Cal Riley. Like, that team is loaded, and I wouldn't want to start him against them regardless. And that's just from a matchup standpoint. So, like, he's a guy that, like, if you're still rostering him, you need to get rid of him. The fact that he's 65% owned kind of scares me, especially with even on the season, he has a 4.18 ERA with a 1.20 whip. Things just don't look good. And even the underlying stats really scream, like, get rid of him. Quite honestly, he's walking guys too much. His walk per nine is a 6.17. That's a lot of spots where he can totally just get rocked and then destroy your ERA. Not really producing ground balls, only 33.3% of the time. Home ball to fly ball ratio is 20%. Balls are just flying out of the park for him. It's just not looking good for him at all. I am just not trying to have a piece of that. Straight up, drop him if you have him. Do not start him if you're planning to start. If you're planning to hold on him and you're in a deeper league, you kind of can't get rid of a guy like him, which there's no situation where I would keep him on my team at this point. So, but like if you're in like one of those really deep leagues, then yeah, maybe you're holding on to him, but I ain't trying to. I'll move on. I'll rather figure it out later. But let's keep it going. Let's keep it pushing. Let's talk about Kyle Finnegan. this one's upsetting. So Finnegan obviously hit the IL. Hit the IL on Friday on the 5th, and yes, it's going to be retroactive to September 1st. The right abductor strain. Finnegan suffered the injury while warming up in the bullpen on Wednesday, and he will require a stint on the injury list. Finnegan hasn't allowed a run since the beginning of his trade from the Nationals to the Tigers. He's been great. Um, you know, as for how long, don't know. For me, he's a guy that until I see that, hey, he's not coming back this season, I'm going to hold on to. So if he's able to get this abductor strain figured out in the next week and I'm able to hold him, I have an IL spot that's, reasonable that I can hold him in. I'm going to do it because if he comes back next week, it's just going to be a leg up. And, he's going to be the difference maker because he's been a phenomenal closer. Like they said, since joining the Tigers, he's been absolutely incredible. 3.21 ERA on the season over the last month, no earned runs, 14 Ks through 11 innings, and just has been really crushing it, in all honesty. Finnegan, when given the save opportunity, is able to handle business. So I'm holding on to him. Let's keep it moving. So about Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott, this one, not really a fan. Let's get into it. So Tanner Scott hasn't gotten a save has gotten one save over the last 2 weeks with a 13.5 ERA over 2.2 innings. He's not even getting a lot of work because even over the and it's just it hasn't been fun, huh? Tanner Scott has been around and just has not been great. Yeah, he's had 2 blow-up starts too. It's not good. Tanner Scott too, you look at a little bit of the underlying stats, and that's really where things get really weird. So walking guys like not enough for me to be scared. Not really doing the ground ball, not producing enough ground balls. Home run, the fly ball ratio is at 33.3%. Oh, it's just bad. It's just bad. Even his FIP is at 12.52 over the last 2 weeks. It's just not looking fun. Sierra's sitting at 498. Oh, it's just bad. Even giving up hard contact at 45%. Ultimately, like I am not trying to touch him with a 10-foot pole. And the other thing is too, how often is he really getting it? I know he's slotted in as the closer, but I don't think he's going to have that job for much longer. Guys behind him are like, Ben Kasparis. I mean, yeah, the name isn't great, but I mean, if he's performing better, he's going to take the job because it's not like Tanner Scott is doing himself a favor and really holding down the job. So he's a flat out drop from me as well. So see you later. Sayonara. Bye, Tanner Scott. All right, let's switch over to bats. Let's talk about Spencer Torkelson. So Torque is somebody that started off this season really hot, like really hot. And I don't know. And then after a while, things started to get really, really depressing. He has 28 home runs on the season and 72 runs and 73 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting 234. Over the last month, he has 9 runs, 3 bombs, 7 ribs, batting 200. Over the last 2 weeks, 2 runs, no home runs, 2 ribs, batting 140. And things just get a little worse from here. Now let's look at under the hood a little bit too over the last 2 weeks. So Spencer Torkelson is hitting the ball only 28.6% with hard contact. Not really battling at all. Expected batting average is actually a 176. His slug is so in the toilet at 209, and the X slug is just right behind it at 243. The X WOB is only at 239. He's striking out 33% of the time. Bad bit's ugly too. It's at 214. Ground balling 28.6% of the time. Fly balling about 57.1% of the time. And he's pulling the ball 50% of the time. Not a great combination. Let's put it that way, right? So here we go. Here we go here. Ultimately with Torque, the way he's performing, it doesn't look like there's going to be any positive regression at all. It looks like he's just on a downward spiral. And honestly, I don't even care to own him anymore. I'm dropping him. You see him starting to drop pretty quickly. At one point, he was 98% owned, down to 78% owned, and dropping by the minute. Do not be scared to drop Spencer Torkelson because I don't foresee him being good for a little bit, probably for the rest of the season. So drop him while you can. Coming up next, I got a bunch of names. What to do with Volpe, Carlos Correa, and Xavier Woods. These names and more coming up next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending it in sending it to all in one place. So you can just manage your money and start building wealth. Honestly, when I first started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much money I spend on food delivery. Hasn't changed. It just makes me feel guilty about it. But the part I like the most is managing the money with my wife. You know, Usually in a couple's life, there is a lot of arguments surrounding money, and that's usually one of the main causes of fights in a marriage. Well, this kind of helps alleviate that. No, you can't order that package off Amazon this time. You ordered 15 this month. Look, right. Look at Monarch Money. You can't do it. We don't have it, right? It's easy. Now you don't have to fight about it. Look, it's clear, simple numbers. Numbers don't lie. It helps take the stress not only out of just managing money, but out of your relationship. And I love that part the most. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code locked on MLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code locked on MLB for half off your first year. And welcome back. We're in the latter half of this show, and I think we're gonna end strong. We got Xavier Edwards on the block here, and what to do with Xavier Edwards is the $1,000,000 question. So Xavier Edwards obviously has second short eligibility and is playing for those Miami Marlins, and it's just been so bad over the last 2 weeks. 5 runs, no bombs, no ribs, a stolen base, batting 156. Even over the last week, 1 run, batting .71, 0-1. It's bad, like really bad. The only reason you usually roster this guy is he steals bases and he hits for average. Now he's not even doing that, and I don't understand why. They're actually playing quite well. Giving Philly struggles the other day. It's kind of crazy, but yet, hey, here we are. We're in a spot where you just can't do it. He's only hitting the ball for hard contact 16.2% of the time. Average is completely in the toilet. Expected batting average is 207, so not that much better. Like, everything about it is bad. He's just literally just not looking good. There's nothing here that screams, "Oh, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be able to fix this." Nope. Nope, nope, nope. He's ground balling 48.5% of the time. Normally, with a speedy guy like him, you wouldn't care. But, man, it's not looking good. It's just not. Okay. So, oh boy, drop him while he's hot too, because Xavier Edwards is just not doing anything for your lineup. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about Carlos Correa. And Correa, well, if you're new to the show, you probably don't know how much I don't like Correa. And I never liked him. Even with him joining the Houston Astros again, makes me hate him even more. But, even with this last week of 4 runs, a bomb, 3 ribs, batting 273, still doesn't sell me. He hasn't been good all year. He's played almost a full year with 475 at bats. He obviously has missed time, but not many. And it's just not great. Not great. Even with this, I'm looking at it and I go, can he keep this up? Can he keep doing it? And the answer for me is no. Like, flat out no. Barreling 7.5% of the time over the last 2 weeks, only creating hard contact 37.5% of the time. I mean, yeah, the expected batting average is at 248, which is lower than his batting average on the last week at 273, but I'll still take it. The slug is decent, but not great. The expected slug's a little bit better at 382, but just I'm just not feeling it. Really not. Really, really not. I think that, quite honestly, you could drop him and not care one bit. So even though he's had this wonderful week on paper, Can he keep it going? No, I don't think so. So Carlos Correa is a drop. Now let's get into Volpe. Volpe was a guy I mentioned at the top of the show. Obviously plays for the New York Yankees. Volpe is a guy that I honestly liked as a prospect, but honestly has not lived up to the hype at all. Like at all. Okay. We were supposed to have this guy that's still 70 stolen bases, hit for average, and you know, has a little bit of power, not much. He's expecting to be like 13 to 15 home runs, but like 60 stolen bases and batting probably about 265. Nope, we get a nice 207 on the year and on the month of 140 with one stolen base on the one thing you drafted him for. He does not even doing 8 ribs, 2 home runs, and 8 runs over the last week. Nothing, and he's batting 111. Really, really trying to sell me having him there. And you look at all the underlying stuff for Volpe, barreling only 11% of the time, hard contact 37% of the time, average at 195 over the last 2 weeks, and expected batting average 250, which I'll take, but still, the expected slug should be actually a lot better at 468. But here's the thing, though. He's just striking out a lot, and it's just getting bad. And with that kind of combination, I don't see how, if he doesn't figure out the plate discipline, we're not going to see anything else come to fruition at this point. And that's pretty much what we're seeing all season long when it comes to Volpe. Like straight up, like Volpe on the season, if this page will load, has struck out like a crazy person. Literally 138 strikeouts through 140 games with only 41 walks to boot. His struggle has truly been plate discipline. Take a walk, my guy. I don't know, maybe not swing at everything under the sun. These are key things, my friend. So, do I think anything's going to get better for Volpe? Absolutely not. I don't think that this zebra is going to change his stripes this late in the season. So, the fact that he's even 61% owned actually is mind-blowing to me, and I just want to move on. I don't think that there's any bright spot for him. Volpe is a guy you just need to move on for. We're in crunch time here. It's time to go. See you later, Anthony Volpe. But guys, that's all I have for today. So please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share this show because we love bringing it to you each and every week. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get your local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Peace out, guys.